Hi, friends. Welcome to Unmatched. We live in a whole new world, a world where our ability to tend to and train our attention is one of the greatest skills to have in the 21st century. As marketers, we are constantly told to fight for attention. But that constant noise is what distracts us all, marketers and consumers, from our authenticity. This is a very, very special episode for me because Unmatched was born out of my own quest for authenticity. It's been a long and sometimes difficult journey, and without my guest guidance and support, I would not have made it to today. Lucia Hargasova is a trained leadership coach, but also a marketer with more than 20 years of experience working for some of the biggest companies in the world. She has changed my life in so many ways, and I wanted to share her wisdom and her magic with all of you. Lucia, welcome to Unmatched.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be here and just experience your journey and just seeing this here and now.
It is, very, very emotional and super personal, this episode. And I want us to go right into the topic because we're going to tackle a few things. But let's start with this mental health issues, loneliness, digital addiction. It's really a crazy world we're living in, Lucia. And you and I have spoken so many times about this that in order to be able to find your own voice and authenticity, you have to be able to quiet down the noise. But as marketers, I think you and I both know how hard that can be because we have to be in the middle of it all, in the middle of the noise. We're generating the noise most of the time. So I would love to start by asking you, in your experience as a coach, but also as a marketer, how have you seen these big trends in the world manifest in the marketing industry specifically?
So I can refer to my own experience as a marketer. And we know for anyone who has been in marketing for longer than, I would say, 15 years, they know exactly the transition between where all of the media mix, suddenly became a lot more complex. And, little did we know that with the arrival of just the simple iMedia and, digital, we were very overwhelmed and we didn't know how to track it, so the clients were having a lot more demand. The budgets were shifting from just simple TV, which you can actually switch on and off, to digital. And the transition not only never stopped, but from a marketing standpoint it became a lot more overwhelming. The complexity, and the complexity just means that there is a lot more information, and our mind hasn't changed. Our brain hasn't changed, so suddenly we are getting a lot more channels, a lot more choices. We have to think about a lot more possibilities, but the brain is the same. So how can we adapt as a human? And throughout my journey personally as a coach, I've seen a huge impact on this when it comes to the mental health. So not only from a work environment, you've got a lot more challenging proposals to put together, whether it's for your own brand or for someone who you report to. But it is harder for us as a humans. We just basically live in this, I call it the 3D reality, which is becoming a lot more noisy. And, our brain hasn't changed. So what has changed, and I believe this is actually the answer for everything, and we're going to get deeper into that, is we have tools. And now we have a scientific confirmation, like literally showing us how it affects us as a human. So the connection between this hugely distracted world, the only way for us to stay in our truth, in our essence, is to be very selective about what tools can we start using and how we disconnect so we can then reconnect. And I see it every day, with my clients. I see it with the type of workshops I do, that just providing us with a little bit of space, just like in a one-on-one hour of coaching, just suddenly brings you back to the center. So actually it isn't that hard, but it is very, very hard at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm the perfect example for that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about, the need to just stop and breathe and reconnect with yourself. And I think for marketers, this is such an important exercise that I don't think we talk about at all. I would say I don't see that conversation happening in the market. We talk a lot about the attention and, the need for authenticity, but we never talk about, sort of the emotional and mental implications of being a marketer in the 21st century and having to deal with all of that, and what are the mechanisms and the tools that we can use in order to really cope. So I want us to go a little bit deep into what authenticity means, because when we talk about marketing, this word has become a buzzword, right? Everyone needs to be authentic. What does this even mean, but on a deeper level?
So I'm just going to go back to my own experience because I think that can help through the story connect with those who are listening and watching this. I myself was a very successful marketeer. You know, I'm Slovakian. You know, I did a whole career just moving up the ladder, and I absolutely love marketing. It really is still part of my heart, and it's still partly what I do. But at one point, as I was going more into a senior positions, I started to realize and just see myself, how much am I showing up because someone else wants me to show up certain way. So the boss wants something, the manager wants something, the client wants something, the CFO wants something. So I was constantly being pulled into trying to perform basically, and I started to feel actually extremely disconnected, and that led to several behaviors such as, we go out drinking, we drink a lot of coffee, like I just felt like my health is also starting to deteriorate. And I was lucky enough that, as a part of my journey, I was still doing some kind of practices in terms of like yoga and movement. So there was a little bit of the balance, but it wasn't quite there because, as we know, as marketeer, you just end up, working long hours, especially if you love what you do. So what I really realized when it comes to the authenticity, I was starting to feel like I don't know how to be myself. And it was just this voice that it was at the back of my mind. And it was just this kind of like a subtle whisper that it was just there. And I felt exhausted. I felt burnout. And then I listened to one podcast which inspired me, together with a discussion with my great uncle, who is happened to be a healer, to join a coaching course because I was really curious about this idea that there could be a support for me. So with no expectations, no, career I want to change into a coach, I sign up into a coaching thinking I'm going to be able to change all the senior management around me, and then life is going to be easier, and then I can be myself. Little did I know that actually, as a part of the coaching journey, it was all about self-discovery and getting to know yourself. And what it actually means at the end is deconditioning from years and years and years of a journey where we are told from a very young age, hey, be the good girl, sit over here, help your mom, do this, don't study that, study this. And it's just this constant noise that we're being pulled away. Now, the tricky thing that the authenticity can mean many things to many people, but once you get in touch with your authenticity, it's nearly like a sense of freedom. And that's when the creativity comes in. And that's when the big ideas comes in. Because I believe that we are here, all of us, with an absolutely unique purpose. And the unique purpose doesn't have to be you have to become a CEO of the biggest brand in the world. It could be. It can be you can be a part of an amazing community. You can be helping your neighbor. It can be, being setting up a small kindergarten. Like what we are here for is the authenticity. It's being able to show up and be okay with sometimes not being okay. And suddenly the right type of people, because of your vibration, start to come around you. So, I mean, with you, Anna, your journey, and I would love you to tell me what's your angle on this. But it's just like this flower who has been planted in the concrete. It's never going to blossom the same way than if you plant it in, I happen to live in London in Kew Gardens, close to Kew Gardens. So it's just being able to create the space for this authenticity to open up and shine. So it just comes with this sense of freedom and peace and being okay with taking a risk. I mean, there's just a whole lot of world behind the world of authenticity. But I would love you to share your part of the journey, because I know that similarly to me, you didn't always have it easy on the beginning. And what we see today is the expression of being brave enough to step into the authenticity.
Which is a very tough topic, I would want to add, right? Because it sounds, I don't want to make it sound like it's like, oh, it's so easy to get there and it's so beautiful. It's such an amazing process. It's actually damn hard. it's a first of all, it's a hard choice to make because it means to distance yourself to the image that you had built up in your head for your entire life. And that's very hard to do, for you to let go of who you think you were, but also to for the people around you to let go of the image that they had of you. And then the other thing is, it's tough, but at the end, for me, the biggest aspect of it is the clarity. It's
Mhm.
the clarity, because I think when we say authenticity, sometimes the word having become such a buzzword, it might mean just different things. Like for me, what it is, it's really just clarity on who I am, clarity on what I want, clarity on my next steps in life, clarity on my business goals. And that clarity just gives you the roadmap. And I think that's been the biggest learning for me, thanks to you as well. And I want us to touch on a little bit on the topic of human design, because it was through human design that you and I basically connected over this and reconnected, because we worked together in the past and then we reconnected over human design. I have to say, I have to give a big shout out to my friend Yulia, who introduced me for the first time to human design. And when she did my first reading, I thought, wow, my head was blown away. I was like, okay, finally, I understand myself. Finally, I have clarity on why this is happening and this is happening. And so, because everything when it comes to authenticity is connected to this idea of human design, and maybe people are not, familiar with it, tell us a little bit what it is and how it's connected to our authenticity.
Yes. And what I would like to start with is a connection between the coaching, which I started in 2016, and when human design entered my own life. What I felt was, as you said, is getting to know your authentic self is quite a big journey. So, what human design does, it literally provides nearly like a shortcut to that connection. It's nearly like when you have your human design, and human design is this beautiful modality, which is a combination of I Ching, chakra, astrology, Kabbalah, all all in one, and it basically provides a map of your soul. So it becomes easier for you to make decisions which are aligned to your true self. And I know it sounds very theoretical, for those who haven't tried it, but when you actually have your reading, or when you actually read your design, there is just something. And I really, I've never experienced anything but this, is when people connect with that, it's just like your soul is finally being heard. It's like you're looking at this piece of paper, or when you do a session one-on-one, and people are like, how is this? Finally, I feel like I'm being heard. Finally, it's just me knowing myself. So it is literally an energetic alignment. So, when it comes to human design, authenticity means living true to your unique energetic blueprint, because that's what it is. Human design is actually a blueprint, and it's about aligning with how you are naturally wired, rather than trying to fit in these expectations and societal norms, or follow paths that simply don't resonate with you. Because when you do something that, let's just say, everyone else is going this way, okay, and that's this is the pressure of marketing that we have, and everyone says, well, this thing on Instagram, you need to do more of this. Now, if you're not aligning to that, because your authority is not aligned to that, or your profile is not aligned to that, you can definitely execute, but it's gonna feel like you're pushing this big rock up the hill. So why don't we use these beautiful tools? And this, there's plenty of self-awareness tools, but I find this one is just it goes so deep, that you can just get to know yourself again and be like, wait a minute, how am I making this decision from a place of authenticity, and following the gut feeling, even though my mind says say yes to this, everything in your body says no. And I'm just talking about you, Oana, it's like an example. Everything in your body says no, but your mind says, well, this sounds like a good idea. So just helping you literally to make the decisions which are more aligned. And when you start literally testing it, because that's how you do it, you test the map. Okay, am I going to go this direction? It just helps you to bring back the connection with this authenticity, and it just opens up. So what you said on the beginning, it's not easy. No, it isn't, but it becomes so much more easier. And it's so much more fulfilling when you go to sleep at nighttime and suddenly you just had tough, but really great aligned day, and your energy is in balance. And that's kind of in a summary what it is.
Yeah, and I want to preface this conversation with maybe also a headline. I feel like we're so privileged to live in the world that we're living in right now. I also think that there's, not everyone is privileged enough to be able to say no to things and to live their true selves. There's all sorts of situations in the world that don't allow people to find that voice and live, authentically according to who they are. And I find that to be extremely sad. But on the other side, in this part of the world, we have the choice. We have the choice to be ourselves. And I think it's just a matter of understanding what the tools are. Here's the thing. The question is how to make that choice and how to implement it in a world that demands you to fit within certain molds. And what I mean with that is what I've experienced and what I've learned throughout my journey is that oftentimes my frustration with people and things and situations was because I wasn't making the brave choice
Mm,
of being true to myself and acting accordingly.
mm.
In some cases, maybe I didn't have the choice, so I had to go with it, but it didn't feel good. In some cases, I was just not maybe brave enough. Talk to me a little bit about this sense of frustrations that we all feel, and specifically marketers, because we have to execute, right? We have to execute on things and KPIs and the attention metrics that are surrounding us. How do we choose to play our own game instead?
Okay, that's a big question. We probably will need a little bit more time, but I'm just going to tackle it from a couple of perspectives. So, one is we need to remember the role of ego and our mind. Okay. So, separating our soul, and I'm going to potentially, use words which might not be familiar for everyone, but I'm just going to give it a go. Our mind and our ego is here to keep us safe. Okay. So, literally, when you think about the really long time ago when we were in caves, it was the voice which said, don't go outside because they're dinosaurs and they might eat you. So we literally get like the cortisol rush. We basically have all kind of hormones still acting up from that place. So this idea of being brave enough to stand in your truth and being scared to do something, it's literally just a normal, absolutely normal instinct in your mind and the connection between the heart and the mind. So by several practices like meditation, doing your human design, getting a coach, listening to a great podcast like this, you starting to get to know yourself and you start to separate, okay, wait a minute, I am feeling scared, but there is no actual danger. So I'm going to take the action anyway and see what's actually going to be the outcome. Because by the test and learn, and we know in marketing, the test and learn, I'm going to learn something, right? And then I'm going to correct and go forward and correct and go forward. So just really being compassionate towards yourself, that feeling the fear is quite normal, and just getting to into a conversation with your mind and being like, yeah, okay, you're feeling scared, and literally, but I'm gonna choose and take the step and take the action as a marketeer anyway, because I can learn. That's one. Because it is your journey, your experience. If you and me, take the same action, the outcome will be different. So you can't compare yourself with all these people around you. And I think coming back to the second point, which I think is very, very important, is what is your intention?
Mm-hmm.
What is your intention? Why are you going to do that post? What is behind, picking up a call and maybe adding a value to someone? Are you doing it from a place of I really want to add the value, or are you expecting something in return? Ideas for collaboration, whatever it is, just take a breath and come back to this. What is my intention? Because at the end of the day, and I'm just going to put it out there, might be controversial, no one really cares.
This is the big learning. Actually, nobody cares. It's your life. Only you should care about what you do, right?
Yes, and it is your choice. At the end of the day, it would be your experiences and your learning, and you're in that way basically structuring this beautiful fabric of your own life. That's one. And it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to not wanting to take risks. That's one. And the second thing is like getting to know what is your intention behind, because I'm big in vibration and frequencies. And for me, is the intention of why we do what we do it's basically one of the most important points in everything, because from there we then say something. Because right now your podcast and your beautiful work, Oana, is, yes, it is partially about the amazing execution and your experience, but it is your energy, it is your intention that you carried, your passion for wanting to help others, wanting to inspire, wanting to build community. It is the intention that carries you. And that is where the authenticity comes in, because you will do it in a very unique way. And we just forget. And when we try to either copy or listen too much to other people, we just basically taking the energy down, and we minimizing this beautiful aura. And then it's just, yeah, you walk, the difference when you walk into the room and like you see that person walk into the room and it's like, wow, who is that? They didn't even say anything, and you just like notice them. It's not the looks, it's the energy that you carry. So yeah, I would look at it from the two perspective, being okay to feel the fear and do it anyway. And then the second is, what's your intention? Because they will carry the energy that you show up, whether it's the content execution or the conversations you're having, or the ideas.
I love that. And I talk a lot about intention as well in marketing. And I think we kind of lost that a little bit in this whole craze about attention, because it's like all about attention, 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 and more noise and more virality and more TikTok and more whatever it is. I think we're forgetting why we're here, which is we are here with the intention to help our consumers transform in some shape or form, right? Transform their lives, transform their businesses. Whether our business is a B2B or a B2C, it doesn't really matter. We work with people on the other side of the screen, which I think sometimes also we forget. So, intention, it's so important. And you've talked a lot about intention on an individual level, but I think it translates equally to intention on a company level. Now, achieving intention on a company level is much, much harder, because you have to have a whole organization from top to bottom. And unfortunately, this is how it works, from top to bottom, rowing in that same direction. Is it realistic? And how can we as marketers align our intention, authenticity with that of the company? And to which level, maybe sometimes?
Yes. Another big one. You're asking a big questions.
Yeah, that's why we're here for.
So my personal experience, and I'm going to be very transparent, is I went off to become a coach because I wanted to bring the coaching experience back in the corporate world. And exactly as you said, I was a little bit naive in this idea that, oh, I can change everything. I'm Lucia now. I have all these coaching skills. Which, by the way, bring you back to yourself and like constantly putting mirror in front of you. So it is really back about yourself more than anything. And I failed. I would say I didn't fail from a perspective of, I had a beautiful team and I had an incredible, successful environment in many, many forms. But unless the top leadership was fully aligned, it is in my experience, 20 plus years, not quite possible. However, I really want to make this a very important point. If you decide to run away from a situation because you think that situation will change, that situation will show up in your life in another form, unless there is a part of you which will change, heal, and accept that you are creating somehow this reality by attracting this. So I would always urge you, if there is a tension happening in your life or frustration, just find a way to get the support first of all, and find a way to look potentially in which way are you attracting this in your life. Okay, because as a marketeer, and I love what you said, is when I was studying marketing, and this is 24 years ago, we really believe that we are adding value to consumer in order to create experiences or product that are going to benefit. And then meanwhile we are creating companies and profits and business. So I went into marketing because I truly, truly believe that we are adding value. And I think this question isn't asked enough at each of the stages of the marketing development, whether it's from, the actual product idea into, the whole journey all the way to packaging and then distribution, or if it's an online tool. Because at one point we get into a tension between, we could make more money if we don't do this packaging and we just do plastic. But if your original idea was to save the planet, are you still true to it? So yeah, it's a big topic. And coming back to your question, can the company change if there is an alignment in the top leadership? I'm not sure. However, I still believe several individual lights, creativity, and inspirations are there for a reason, to hold some kind of an energy. And at one point, if you don't belong there, things will change and you will find a way out, or you will find a new job offer, or you will find a new opportunity, because your vibration is no longer aligned to the company. But often we forget, and this is what I wanted to say is, and Oana, you know it, when we joined a company, you were a different person. That level, you were at a different vibration, and as you continue grow and improve and expand, you change your vibration, and you're going to trickle this vibration around you. Now, if that company isn't aligned to your values anymore, something is going to change, or you
Yeah.
just stuck there, unless until it's just not going to feel good and something is going to change. So at the end of the day, the simple answer is no, but I still believe we are here for a purpose, and you sometimes forget. And please, for those who are listening, don't forget how much you are impacting lives of others by a simple conversation, by getting someone a coffee, by smiling, by being genuinely curious and interested, and keeping your own vibration high.
Yeah, I think this is so important because in the end, we're humans connecting with other humans, as we said, on our levels, on the consumer side of things, on the company side of things. We work with people all the time. It needs to stop being such a transaction because it's more than that. As humans, we are wired for connection. We're wired for storytelling. Going back to the times that we lived in the caves, as you said, we were all gathering around fire pits and we were telling stories. That's how people exchange knowledge at the time. This is still true. Our brains are still wired this way. So either on the consumer side of things, if you're a marketer, or whether you are in a company and you have to interact with other people, it still holds true. So that's where authenticity and clarity about who you are comes into play. I think, though, that I want to connect now the dots here. The lack of authenticity, or the search for authenticity, which is such a big topic nowadays. If you look at the research out there, it shows you how literally everyone is looking for purpose and meaning, no matter what the age is. So, authenticity on one side, and then distraction on the other side. Constant distraction. No wonder we're lost. No wonder we don't know where we belong, and no wonder we don't know what our purpose is. And I want us to connect those dots together. How do we play a different game? How do we train that attention of ours so that we can focus back to who we truly are as marketers, as people, and also maybe at the company level, eventually, if the right people at the top are listening to the message? But how can we bring that value back to the equation?
Ay, ay, ay.
All the
um,
easy questions for you today,
yes,
Lucia. That's what
yes.
you're here for.
So I'm just gonna share what's coming up as the message, because again, we can layer it in several ways, and depending on who you're talking to, would answer this probably slightly differently. But I'm gonna say something again, potentially, spiritual conscious, which is, we've got to fall in love again with the idea of being present. The magic that happens in the conversation that I'm having with you right now, without thinking about anything else, without, looking at my phone, without, trying to multitask, is the magic which you see when you look at your literally your child's face when he's trying to tell you something. That magic when you really have the best coffee, or you're sitting somewhere where you smell the sea. Why it is so easy for us to be on holiday and being present is because we are disconnected from the devices. We're creating the space for our mind to come out of the fight and flight mode and just be present. That presence, that falling in love with this magic when you have a best brainstorm session with your team. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the size is, but you just basically chatting about idea, and you just have pens and papers and sticky notes around the room. When idea comes to you when you're literally on a run or walking into the park, the big things the big changes in the world do not happen behind the screen. I'm sorry, I really don't believe that. When you think about whether it's the technology innovations or whether it's any kind of innovation, the ideas came from the connection to, you call it God, you call it the divine, you call it the higher self, whatever it is. You're not allowing that channel to open if you're trying to scroll and write an email and listen to music and do several things. Our mind and heart is not wired that way. So unfortunately, this, I call it a disease, is just going to get worse. So we, whether it's a leaders and we're responsible for our teams, or us as individuals, we have to find a way to create those spaces. We have to find a way to create the spaces, whether it's the morning or evening time with the family. You literally have to look at your calendar and you have to create spaces where you are literally disconnected. And that's where you get the connection. And, if anyone is listening saying, well, yeah, that's easy to say. Is it? Is it really that hard?
It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard nowadays, but it shouldn't be, because you remember there was a time where we were telling kids that it's really good to be bored, right? Isn't that a thing that we tell kids?
Yeah.
You don't have to be on your whatever PlayStation or do this and that. You can just be bored. It's so good for creativity. Yet
Mhm.
we don't apply that to ourselves.
Mhm. And there are several studies, and we can go through like a links and leave it for the listeners and those who are watching, who are actually proving, like scientifically proving that this is actually a fact. And I don't know, for those who are in the UK and love Sunday Times, I'm a very old-fashioned way in the way that I get the Sunday newspapers. Like, I don't read newspapers, but I literally get the Sunday Times. And there was a beautiful article about the only school in the whole UK which is completely screen free. And they have best results. I think they're the second best in the country, across all the results in terms of the marks, in terms of the, getting into the best professions, into being very successful. And they just basically made a conscious choice to limit, not completely limit in school, but also having a conversation with the parents. So this is a big topic, but I don't believe in discipline. I believe in devotion. And what I mean by devotion is you've got to fall in love with your life, with the idea that you are the creator. You came here with a unique purpose. You've got lots to share. And the only way to do that is to find a way to connect with your authenticity, connect with yourself. And for that, you've got to start disconnecting with these distractions. And I think this is the tension between the marketeer, how much am I on LinkedIn? How much am I going to get inspiration? All of the external stimulus with balancing it. How much time am I creating versus consuming? Just ask yourself that question. How much time per day am I creating versus consuming? And what I mean by creating, it doesn't have to be content. It can be creating powerful conversations. It can be checking in with the loved ones. It's the creation of the energy. You are creating the energy to give and share. And this is where the community and the power of community comes in, where when we are actually connected, we become literally like a bubble. And this is coming back to the human design. You're a generator. Oana, you are here to generate the most beautiful energy for all of us. If you don't take care of your own energy, we all gonna fail. Literally. So you better take care of yourself. And I
I
think this
know,
is
yeah.
another getting out of your own way. And you know it, I'm very tough with you sometimes. But you've done an incredible progress because you connected with this power of being present.
And, I think this is such an important message for marketers, because marketers are the natural storytellers, right? That's who we are supposed to be. But in order to be able to storytell, you have to have stories to tell. And here's the crazy thing that I want us to connect here, all these dots, right? We talked about authenticity, we talked about intention, we talked about distraction, and now we're going to talk a bit about productivity, because we live in this crazy world of productivity where everything needs to be efficient, everything needs to happen fast, everything we need to multitask to get as much done in a day, because we have to progress and we need to take 5 steps further today. It's not enough that we're taking half a step and then tomorrow one step, and so on. It's like 5 steps forward today, or we're not successful. And here's the crazy thing is like when you give yourself time to disconnect and to just do other things that have nothing to do with the task at hand, this is where you get creative. This is where you're getting the stories that are worth sharing, not the consuming other content so you have something to share, because that's like a big myth that we're being told right now. You have to consume more so that you know what to say. No, because what you're going to say is not true. It's not authentic to you. It's not the lived experience. To live an experience, you have to go out there and live it on your own. You're not going to live the experiences behind the screens. So let's talk a little bit about this productivity craze and how that's connected to authenticity and intention, and, living our best life based on who we are and how we're wired and how we're designed.
So, coming back to the power of the intention, what is your intention behind this idea that you lack productivity or you need to do more? What voice in your head is it saying? Because it is up to you to define your own idea what is good enough. And if you're, let's say, if you're talking to about someone who is at work and there is we're doing more, but if we are not focused on what's the intention, why are we doing it, doing more is never going to lead us to any success. It's not going to get us a better ROI. It's not going to do a better creation. And you know it from your own work. If you put a clear intention behind the post, you don't even need to post every single day, but the engagement is so much higher because you come from a place of love and heart and connection. So I think there is a whole lot of misleading concept about what productivity actually means, because productivity was meant to give us better quality of life, isn't it?
I
And look,
guess, but
washing
we're
machine.
not there. We're not there.
Yeah, and we have washing machines and dishwashers and fast planes and easy way to travel and WhatsApps and I'm just thinking is we're not really getting anywhere. So I think we just need to really shake up this idea of what being productive actually means. However, I do have one tip, and you know my tip, and you probably don't love my tip, but I do find that there is one behavior that changed my life, which I started probably 6 years ago, and that's waking up early.
Yeah, that's not me. That's not me because I'm just still recovering from having two small kids and not sleeping for six
Yes,
years. So
you're
I'm
an
like, I
exception.
think I,
However,
I still have some time of grace.
yes, yes. However, I'm going to redefine the sentence Oana just said, and I'm going to say, that's not me yet. I'm just going to put the yet, okay? Because you do have to try something in order to decide whether you don't want it, okay? And it will come to you in the perfect aligned time. But for those who are interested, what changed my life when it comes to being productive is waking up early. So anytime between 5 to 6 a.m., okay, assuming that your day starts from 7 a.m. onwards. So I have a small child as well. If I have that 90 minutes for myself, it changes my day and the frequency and the energy of the day. And it does it because I get to be more present as of 7 a.m. That's all it does. It's coming back to the idea of I'm becoming more intentional and more present, because that 90 minutes gives me the time for myself, whether it's short meditation, movement, breath work, whatever, however way you want to structure it. So I have a very clear things I do, but it's very individual. But if I do that, suddenly I become more present, and then everything else flows. I feel I'm much more creative, I'm more intentional. And again, you do have to decide what does productivity mean for you and what value does it have in your life. Because what we use these terms for is we just use it as another excuse to beat ourselves up. Oh, she's more productive than I am and I should be doing more than I do. It's like, listen to that voice. That's not helpful. That's not helping you to elevate your vibration. That's not going to get you more creative. So, really, just start to observe what voices are happening in your head and just appreciate yourself more, because you are probably doing a lot more than you even should, and not giving yourself enough time to rest, to sleep, and to enjoy the beautiful people that you may have in your life or just life itself. So, and I'm talking about my own experience, having worked in a, hardcore corporate demanding life. At one point, I woke up and I was like, it's enough. And it took me, a couple of years to relearn how to live outside of that system. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point because it does take you time to rewire your brain and to figure out what actually your natural rhythm should be or what is enough, right? Like this, I'm still working on this. I'm still not there, you know this, because I was wired to work, 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 and not really have enough time to rest and play. And I think just as for kids, play is so crucial in their development for us adults. And especially I will just focus on the marketers, my tribe, because
Yes,
we need to be so creative, we need to storytell, we need time to be present with ourselves, we need time to connect with others. The connection with our community, with other people, our conversations is what really sparks the creativity and the stories that we have to tell. And as I always talk about the consumer insights, you don't have to read the spreadsheet that tells you what the big trends in the world are. You just have to go out there and speak to one or two of your customers directly, face to face, know their names, understand their backgrounds, understand how they use your products, in which way, or services, whatever you might do, and then get that very personal connection so that you have in your mind a better framework about what exactly it is that we're doing. Because I think that this is where it all gets lost, for us marketers, when we distance ourselves so much from our consumers that we lose touch with the humans that are actually using whatever it is that we're creating. So again, coming back to the idea of play is such an important thing. And I call play everything from rest to meeting your friends to going out for dinners to doing meditation, to be present with yourself and with others. That's all that we human need in order to reconnect. Now,
yes,
to give marketers a few simple, I don't know, I don't love this kind of 7 tips to become more present in your life, whatever. Like it doesn't always work for everyone in the same thing, in the same way. But if there was one thing that we want marketers to take away from this conversation today, what would that be?
okay, I want everyone to take a breath, deep breath in, and just breath out. And I just want you to really imagine for a moment that you, all of you, and you, Anna, we all are unique in our own way. And we have a beautiful, beautiful energy to share with the world. And just setting that intention to just open up just a little bit with the trust that each one of us have our own unique energy, and it's the combination of this beautiful energy that create the magic in marketing, in building brands, in adding a value. So if there is a one thing, is really coming back to that intention, and that intention that I truly do believe that we all are unique and we have a gift to share, and that is our own energy. So just whenever you take whatever step today, for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, just take a breath throughout the day once in a while and just come back to what is my intention, the way I drink my cup of tea, the way I send this email, the way I answer the call. Just that simple.
I love it. And it's so, isn't it wonderful how aligned it is with unmatched? Because unmatched is exactly this. This is exactly what the word means. It's tapping into your magic, whatever it is, that mix of things, because it's not just one thing. As a brand, as an individual, equally, we all have that unmatched set of skills and experiences and life events that we've experienced that are all kind of creating the personality, the tone of voice, everything that we stand for and represent. And I could not have gone to this point without you, Lucia. So I thank you so much, not only for your guidance and support always, for helping me build Unmatched from the background, from the bottom up, lifting me up and putting a smile on my face every time I see you with your magic. And thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.